Report is out tonight into the origins of the Russia investigation. For years, the president has alleged a deep state, saying he was spied on, wiretapped. What the IG found, and we're one-on-one tonight with the FBI. Also tonight, the horror playing out in New Zealand, the deadly volcano eruption Americans feared among the missing tonight. Tourists killed, many unaccounted for. This evening, news of a passenger plane flying to the U.S. forced to make an emergency landing. Smoke in the cockpit. The fireworks at the impeachment hearing on the Hill tonight. Could they draw up articles of impeachment in days? The powerful storm in the Midwest tonight set to slam the Northeast next. Snow and rain and a massive pileup on the highway. Dozens of vehicles involved and Ginger standing by to time it out. We have new reporting tonight on the Saudi national who opened fire at a Pensacola Naval Air Base. The gun used where it was purchased, and investigators retracing his final days here in the U.S., including a trip to New York City and Rockefeller Center. Onlookers witnessing a devastating tiger attack here in the U.S. The woman who raised and cared for the tigers attacked by them. The man trapped in a well, firefighters trying to keep him from sinking deeper into the mud. The images coming in as we come on the air tonight. The snowmobile rider rescued from an avalanche, only his hand sticking out from the snow. And America Strong this Monday night, celebrating the man who inspired so many. That ice bucket challenge and his legacy tonight.
This is ABC World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening, and it's great to have you with us here to start another week. And we begin tonight with the high-stakes report out today. President Trump has long claimed a deep state that he was spied on. Tonight, the Inspector General's report finally out into the origins of the Russia investigation, and the report finding no anti-Trump bias, saying the investigation's launch was justified. Tonight here, we are one-on-one with the president's own hand-picked FBI director, Christopher Wray, and we ask about claims of a deep state and what the Inspector General also found, some, quote, errors and omissions when it came to applying for surveillance. ABC's Chief Justice correspondent Pierre Thomas leading us off tonight with the report and the one-on-one.
After years of President Trump calling it a deep state, saying the FBI was anti-Trump when it launched an investigation into possible ties between his campaign and Russia, tonight, the long-awaited independent report, the Justice Department's Inspector General, revealing there was no evidence of a witch hunt, determining the FBI had enough evidence pointing to either a federal crime or a threat to national security, or both, to justify the probe at the height of the election, and that the agents who made the final decision to launch the investigation were not influenced by political bias. The president has long said his campaign was illegally spied on, even suggesting former President Obama had wiretapped him.
It was illegal spying, unprecedented spying.
This was an attempted coup.
I would say that President Obama had to know about it.
But the Inspector General says FBI officials made serious errors and omissions in applying for surveillance warrants to monitor the communications of a Trump campaign associate, Carter Page, adding agents failed to meet the basic obligation to ensure the applications were scrupulously accurate. They did not tell DOJ attorneys about information that may have weakened their case for surveillance. The president pounced.
This was an overthrow of government. This was an attempted overthrow, and a lot of people were in on it.
But tonight, the president's hand-picked FBI director, Christopher Wray, saying there was no deep state.
As far as you know, based on the findings in the Inspector General report, is the FBI, was it part of some deep state?
Well, I think that's the kind of label that is a disservice to the 37,000 men and women who work at the FBI. That's not a term I would ever use to describe our workforce, and I think it's an affront to them.
The president's defenders have accused FBI agents of conspiring against him, pointing to anti-Trump text messages. But the IG report also found other agents exchanging pro-Trump messages at the same time, and later celebrating the 2016 election.
Do you have any evidence that the FBI targeted the Trump campaign unfairly?
I don't.
But Wray acknowledges mistakes were made.
There are actions described in this report that I consider unacceptable and unrepresentative of. I am ordering over 40 corrective actions to address all of those things in a way that's robust and serious. And we're determined to learn the lessons from this report and make sure the FBI emerges from this even better and stronger.
Pierre Thomas with a one-on-one tonight, and he joins us live from outside the FBI headquarters. And Pierre, tonight we know Attorney General William Barr, really in a move similar to what he's done in the past, he's now speaking out against the findings of an independent investigation and siding with the president tonight.
David, tonight, Barr is blasting the Russia probe's origin, saying the Justice Department and the FBI launched an intrusive investigation of a U.S. presidential campaign on the thinnest of suspicions that were insufficient to justify the steps taken. Barr has launched a separate investigation that is now criminal. With the FBI director telling me today he agrees that the IG's finding that the launch was in fact legal. David?
Pierre Thomas leading us off. And Pierre, we know the Inspector General will be before the Senate Judiciary Committee on Wednesday facing questions from both sides, and we'll be there too. But we move on tonight to the other news this Monday, into the sudden and deadly volcano erupting on an island in New Zealand. Americans feared to be among the missing tonight. The volcano sending ash soaring 12,000 feet into the air with no warning, as tourists from all over the world were standing along its rim and climbing up its sides. And this video tonight from a boat that had left just minutes before the blast. At least 5 people killed and many still missing. Here's ABC's James Longman tonight.
Tonight, a terrifying escape for tourists fleeing this massive volcanic eruption that came close to killing them. Watch the cloud burst across the water towards their speeding boat. Tour guides begging them to get to safety. The sudden eruption hit just after 2 p.m. on New Zealand's White Island, volcanic ash spewing 12,000 feet into the air. 47 people were on the island when the volcano erupted, some coming from a Royal Caribbean cruise ship. Look at this group of people inside the crater. This image taken minutes before the explosion. New Zealand officials saying at least 5 are confirmed dead. More than 30 were rescued, some severely burned. Several Americans among the missing.
It is now clear that there were 2 groups on the island, those who were able to be evacuated and those who were close to the eruption.
Tourist Michael Shade shooting this video. He just left the island with his family 20 minutes earlier, capturing these images of a group huddled on a pier, desperate for safety. A wrecked helicopter visible in the ash behind them, the whereabouts of its passengers unknown.
We do not believe anybody else has survived that explosion.
Our foreign correspondent James Longman with us live tonight. And James, you've learned that scientists had warned of increased activity at this volcano, just 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, David, scientists reported an increase in gases and small volcanic tremors, and it's long been known as an unpredictable volcano. So big questions tonight over why tourists are still allowed to climb it. A second eruption is possible, which may mean if there are bodies on the island, it may be very difficult to retrieve them. David?
James Longman on this for us again tonight. James, thank you. And next to that emergency landing for an international flight to the U.S., the pilots reporting smoke in the cockpit, at least one emergency worker fearing there was fire as well. ABC's David Curley covers aviation.
That's the Air Canada plane on the ground after some harrowing moments in the sky. Smoke in the cockpit, not once, but twice on a flight from Montreal.
The smoke has gone back. There's a lot of smoke in the cockpit.
And that wasn't all. The pilots reporting that the windshield cracked as well.
Expect about a 15-minute delay to have emergency inbound to runway 24. Might shut down the runway.
Bradley Airport in Connecticut rolled out emergency crews when the pilots of the de Havilland Dash 8 requested that emergency landing.
All units be advised, there was a fire in the cockpit.
The plane, operated by Jazz Aviation, was heading to Bradley near Hartford and decided to continue.
We got that emergency on the ground.
Air Canada has now confirmed that 15 passengers were on board the twin-prop plane. No injuries were reported. Also at this hour, there's no word what would have caused the smoke those 2 different times and what cracked the windshield of the plane. David
Corley tonight, thank you. And on Capitol Hill today, the House Judiciary Committee holding a hearing full of fireworks yet again, and it's believed they're already writing up articles of impeachment tonight. Lawyers for the Democrats and for the Republicans making their final arguments, and the Democrats' lawyers saying the president's behavior poses a clear and present danger. Republicans today saying Democrats are obsessed with impeaching the president. Mary Bruce on the Hill again tonight.
The high-stakes closing arguments were explosive from the start.
It's outrageous that we're trying to remove a president with a kangaroo court like this.
The president's defenders eager to delay, objecting to what they say is an unfair process.
Commissioner, or the witness. Bang it harder. It still doesn't make the point that you're not doing it right.
The gentleman will continue.
For House Democrats, today's hearing was a last chance to make their case as they prepare articles of impeachment.
President Trump's persistent and continuing effort to coerce a foreign country to help him cheat to win an election is a clear and present danger to our free and fair elections and to our national security.
The Republican counsel, Stephen Castor, argued there's no proof Trump was seeking to help himself in the 2020 election.
Very simply, the evidence in the Democrats' impeachment inquiry does not support the conclusion that President Trump abused his power for his own personal political benefit.
Castor defended the president's demand that Ukraine investigate Joe Biden, even refusing to concede Trump would have seen Biden as a political threat.
Would you agree that Joe Biden was a leading Democratic contender to face President Trump in 2020?
I wouldn't agree with that.
You disagree with it. So, sir, it's your testimony
It's too early.
that President Trump did not view President Biden to be a legitimate contender.
I don't know what President Trump believed or didn't believe, but it's too early.
Republicans say Democrats are rushing the process.
Because we don't have a crime, we don't have anything we can actually pin, and nobody understands really what the majority is trying to do, except that interfere and basically make sure that they believe the president can't win next year if he's impeached.
But Democrats say the president's actions have left them no choice.
I want to be absolutely clear. The integrity of our next election is at stake. Nothing could be more urgent.
So let's get right up to Mary Bruce live on the Hill tonight. She was on the air with us all day. And Mary, House Democrats are now on track to impeach President Trump next week.
David, Democrats are now preparing the articles of impeachment. They will likely be released in the coming days, setting up a final vote in the House next week, meaning by Christmas, President Trump will likely have become the third American president in history to be impeached. David.
Mary Bruce with us again tonight. Thank you, Mary. And we turn to other news. The powerful storm system barreling across the country tonight after slamming into the west. Now arriving in the Midwest, treacherous roads and the snow and wind there in Duluth, Minnesota. Storms triggering this multi-vehicle pileup. This is I-80 near Altoona, Iowa. Traffic shut down for hours. And tomorrow that front stretches from Texas right up into the Northeast. Snow and rain for several days. Chief Meteorologist Ginger Zee tracking it all. Hey, Ginger.
Hey, David, a mild night with this heavy rain now, but we are going to be snow and bitter cold by Wednesday morning. That's the big story. I want to take you to the maps because that cold front's going to be responsible for a lot of this mess. By tomorrow evening, you'll even see snow flying potentially in northern Alabama, right through central Tennessee and into the Appalachians, say West Virginia. Then by Wednesday morning, absolutely going to impact traffic from Washington, D.C. through Delaware, New Jersey, New York, and Boston. All going to get snow, all driven and fueled by this serious bitter cold. It'll feel like one. Chicago Wednesday morning. Waco, Texas, for example, dropping 55 degrees in 36 hours. David.
Rain and snow and then freezing cold behind it. All right, Ginger, thank you. Next, we have new reporting tonight in that fast-moving investigation of the deadly rampage at the naval base in Pensacola. 3 people were killed, 8 injured at that training facility on Friday. The suspect, an officer in the Saudi Royal Air Force. And tonight, investigators are now retracing his final days here in the U.S., including a trip to New York City to see the Rockefeller Christmas tree. And news he bought his gun right here in the U.S. ABC's Stephanie Ramos in Pensacola tonight.
Tonight, new clues about the days leading up to that deadly rampage in Pensacola as the FBI investigates whether the attack by a Saudi Air Force lieutenant was a terrorist act.
Our main goal right now is to confirm whether he acted alone or was he a part of a larger network.
Investigators believe Mohammed al-Shamrani posted an anti-American rant on Twitter shortly before the attack, quoting Osama bin Laden.
This guy was somebody who, just had a deep-seated hatred for the United States.
Sources tell ABC News al-Shamrani, who was training at the Naval Air Station, filed a complaint in April against an instructor who he said mocked his mustache. Investigators now retracing his steps in the days before the attack, learning he took a sightseeing trip to New York City. Sources say it included a visit to Rockefeller Center and the 9/11 Memorial. ABC News has learned back in Pensacola, al-Shamrani showed friends videos of mass shootings, later opening fire on base, killing Cameron Walters, Mohammed Haytham, and Joshua Caleb Watson. Watson's family says the 23-year-old had a sense of duty, even at the end.
With his last breath, really, he summoned all of his courage and gave a report, a description of the shooter and where he believed